Johnny Depp insults Elon Musk and Amber Heard. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. The trial of Depp and Heard is certainly a gift with so many examples that can be utilised to show so much about human behaviour, specifically, of course, with regard to the behaviour of narcissists and, as has now been established, the narcissistic individual that Johnny Depp is. If you want to understand more about that, listen to my comprehensive series, Johnny Depp, Narcissist or Empath. We're about to see some footage where an email that has been sent from Depp to somebody else is read out in court. Depp confirms that that was stated correctly. We also see Amber Heard's reactions as she listens to the content of this email. Let's bring up the footage so that you can listen to it and see for yourself what's being spoken about, and then I'll provide you with the analysis of what's going on.
Lawyers, I have no mercy, no fear, and not an ounce of emotion, or what I once thought was love for this gold-digging, low-level, dime-a-dozen, mushy, pointless, dangling, overused, flappy fish market. I'm so fucking happy she wants to go to fight this out. She will hit the wall hard, and I cannot wait to have this waste of a cum guzzler out of my life. I met a fucking sublime little Russian here, which made me realize the time I blew on that 50-cent stripper. I wouldn't touch her with a goddamn glove. I can only hope that karma kicks in and takes the gift of breath from her. Sorry, man. But now, I will stop at nothing. Let's see if Mollusk has a pair. Come see me face to face. I'll show him things he's never seen before, like the other side of his dick when I slice it off. Did I read that right?
You did.
Now, not long after this, you can take that down, Michelle, thank you. Not long after this, you met Mr. Waldman in the late summer or fall of 2016.
Well, Depp certainly doesn't mince his words. We didn't hear part of the message read out, although it's on the screen, but it's worth reiterating it. She's begging for total global humiliation. She's gonna get it. I'm gonna need your text about San Francisco, brother. I'm even sorry to ask, but she sucked Mollusk's crooked dick, and he gave her some shitty lawyers. The rest you heard read out by the lawyer. What does this tell us? Well, as you know, we've established that Depp is narcissistic, and the content of this message certainly accords with a narcissistic individual. Because he's narcissistic but not a narcissist, this means he exhibits limited emotional empathy, but he has it, strong narcissistic traits, low empathic traits. This message is manipulative. All four categorizations of people, normal, empath, narcissist, and narcissistic, can be manipulative. Narcissists are the most manipulative, doing so frequently and often not even realizing they're doing it. Narcissistic people are more likely to recognize that they are being manipulative, but because of limited emotional empathy for certain individuals, they don't care about it. Here, fairly rudimentary and crude manipulations are being used, namely insult, smearing, triangulation with person. Is Depp exhibiting a need for control? No, he's not, because he's not a narcissist. What empathic traits, because he has them, is he exhibiting here? He isn't exhibiting any of them. What emotional empathy is he exhibiting here? He isn't exhibiting any, as he insults both Heard and Musk. What narcissistic traits do we see in action here from Depp? The narcissistic traits of anger. The tone shows he's clearly angry about what has gone on. Pride. His pride has been dented in some shape or form, causing him to lash out in this way. There's resentment about the time that he's apparently wasted on, as he describes her, that 50-cent stripper. He exhibits envy, in effect as a consequence of Heard having been with Musk. There's defiance in terms of the overall tone as what he's going to do, and vanity also. So there are 6 of the narcissistic traits clearly evident in this, underpinning the fact that Depp has strong narcissistic traits. This is a response comparable of a narcissistic individual, and because we've established that that's what he is, we are able to interpret the content and tone and the driver for this behaviour through the narcissistic lens. But he's not a narcissist. What about Heard? I've established, through comprehensive consideration of the material, that she is a narcissist. So when this is being read out, what's happening for her? Well, it's challenge fuel. There are only ever 3 interactions that you ever have with a narcissist. They can all be put in one of these 3 boxes. Pure fuel, both positive or negative. Challenge fuel or wounding. Here is challenge fuel. If you'd like to understand more about those 3 interactions, please go to the Knowledge Vault and obtain the 3 interactions with the narcissist. You'll find it very useful. This is challenge fuel. She's being spoken about and therefore she's receiving negative fuel. That's not a problem. However, it is challenging because it's challenging the suggestion that she's a slut, that she is somebody who has a gold-digging approach, that she's out for herself, that she's a low-level, dime-a-dozen, mushy, pointless, dangling, overused, flappy fish market. She's referred to as a cum guzzler. She's referred to as a 50-cent stripper. This series of insults provides her with negative fuel, but it is a challenge because it simply says that she's not a very pleasant person. And therefore, that offends her own notion of who she is, which of course is driven by her narcissism. If she were a gold-digging, cum-guzzling, 50-cent stripper with an overused flappy fish market, her narcissism would not allow her to see it. Instead, it interprets this as a direct threat to her control. Therefore, the narcissism must do something about it. Starting point is for her narcissism to look to assert control directly. This would perhaps mean running forward and attempting to pull the hair of Johnny Depp and beat him in the face, setting him straight for saying these horrible things about her. Or, alternatively, it could be to try and stop the challenge by stopping the lawyer from reading. So she could either assault Depp as a means of assertion of control over him because they're his words, or she could assault the lawyer, put her hand over his mouth, or plead with him to stop talking as a direct assertion of control. Her narcissism doesn't take her down that route because of the type of narcissist that she is. Facade management plays a part, preventing her from tackling either Depp or the lawyer reading this out. With the direct route cut off for her, then the alternative is for the narcissism then to move to the second assertion of control, which is indirect, and this is what it does. It causes her to feel hard done to. It causes her to feel sad, although she doesn't genuinely feel that sadness, and this causes her to dole out a pity play, and that's why we see her attempt at sad face, and also the brushing away of a non-existent tear. She does this because her narcissism convinces her that she's being hard done to, unnecessarily smeared, and therefore she should feel sorry for herself. This causes the issuing of a pity play, which then will be picked upon by other people with the expectation that they will comment favourably towards her, to say what a nasty so-and-so he is, talking about you and Elon in such terms, and therefore control has been obtained. So for Heard as a narcissist, hearing all of this is challenge fuel. Fuel isn't a problem, there's a challenge to her, and her narcissism deals with that threat to control indirectly, causing the resultant facial expressions and body language thereafter. What then of Elon Musk, or Mollusk, as Depp calls him? Well, the first thing we have to ask is Elon aware of what is being said about him at this point in time? Is he sat there, perhaps, with a box of Krispy Kreme donuts, enjoying the slapdown that's going on in this trial? Probably not watching it. A busy man about other matters, but one never knows. Perhaps it's brought to his attention by a press officer or a flunky. If it isn't brought to his attention, then of course there can be no reaction, and the point ends there. But for the sake of demonstration for you and the advancement of your learning, let's assume it's brought to Elon Musk's attention. How he would respond to it, of course, depends upon what he is. Is he an empath? Is he a normal? Is he narcissistic? Or is he a narcissist? Of course, I have not undertaken, or at least not published, a deep dive into the behaviours of Elon Musk, and I'm not going to give away what he is right now, and therefore perhaps I should just end it and leave you wondering about what the outcome could be. But because I am your generous, glorious narrator, I'm actually going to go beyond the call of duty and explain to you what his potential reaction would be dependent on those 4 potential outcomes for him. So if Elon is an empath, he'd be hurt by these remarks about him and somebody that he had a relationship with. This would diminish his emotional empathy towards Depp, and that could well result in the narcissistic trait of anger coming forward, that he expresses anger about what has been said. It may also causes it's likely that his truth-seeker trait as an empath would kick in, along with his sense of justice. And given the fact that he's a rather wealthy man, he might look at taking action against Depp for what amounts to defamatory conduct of his own. Of course, Musk would weigh up whether it's worth his while, but ultimately the initial reaction if Musk were an empath would be to be hurt by this remark, and then would either talk about it with friends or quite possibly, driven by his empathic traits of truth-seeker and justice, want some form of correction to be addressed, perhaps causing him to contact Johnny Depp and say, look, why do you know that you write all of this? And perhaps to see if he would apologise, more likely to approach it in a conciliatory and collaborative way to try and resolve the problem. If he was a normal, he would also be hurt by what is being stated, but he's more likely to brush it off because of the traits of the traits that are empathic and narcissistic would be weaker. Normals generally don't get too caught up in matters which are not within their own immediate circle of empathy. Therefore, Depp and Musk are not particularly close bosom buddies, they're not family members, and therefore whilst Musk as a normal would be hurt by this remark, he would basically be focusing on other matters and would brush it to one side and give it no further concern. If Musk were narcissistic but not a narcissist, he would of course have strong narcissistic traits, and therefore, rather than respond in a hurt manner, he would respond more in a hostile manner as a consequence of anger, the denting of his pride, the denting of his vanity. And that may well cause him to seek to issue some kind of retribution against Depp. This isn't done as an assertion of control, because as a narcissistic individual, there isn't that narcissist need for control. But the presence of those strong traits and limited emotional empathy would mean that Musk may well look to get some form of revenge against Depp as a consequence of what he's written about him. Finally, what if Musk were a narcissist? Well, of course, seeing this would amount to challenge fuel, and therefore his narcissism would direct him to nullify this threat to control, either directly, indirectly, or by staying in a position of withdrawal, and it would be one of those 3 outcomes. Of course, the way that it would happen is dependent upon what type of narcissist Musk might be. Given that we have a multiplicity of outcomes in that regard, I'm not going to go through all of those individually, but suffice to say that if Musk is a narcissist, then he would either have to assert control directly or do so indirectly by commenting about it to a sidekick, a flunky, a lawyer maybe, who agrees with him that this is outrageous behaviour, which then gives that unconscious sense of control if he's an unaware narcissist, or he stays in a position of withdrawal and just thinks, he's a jealous fucker who's a drug addict, etc., etc. He just didn't like it that she sucked my dick better than she sucked his, or words to that effect, that a narcissist may well have form in his mind as a consequence of his own very strong narcissistic traits and absence of emotional empathy. A footnote would be that if Musk is an aware narcissist, he may not do any action at that point, preferring to stay in a position of withdrawal, and instead make a mental note to get Depp later, something that a greater narcissist would be likely to do. Of course, we haven't made a determination as to what Musk is, or at least I haven't published it yet, and therefore we leave matters there. But another piece of footage from the trial provides us with excellent insight with regard to the behaviours and the dynamic between three people, and aids your further understanding of human behaviour and narcissism. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.